Good morning and welcome to this event to encase the time capsule that is the 100th anniversary time capsule for Goddard Enterprises Limited. I'd like to say a warm welcome to everyone, and warm is the word this morning, and welcome to this ceremony. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of people here. And in the front, especially for the members of the press at the back, in the front, I'm going to start with, in the middle here, we have Mr. Colin Goddard and Mrs. Goddard, and he's one of the grandsons of the founder of this company. On the other side, we have Mr. Joseph Goddard and Mrs. Goddard, and he's another one of the grandsons. And next to him, on the far side, is Mr. Philip Goddard, another grandson. And these are the three grandsons that will be with us this morning, and we're pleased to have all of you here. Thank you and welcome. Also in the front row, we have Mr. Anthony Alley, who is the present CEO of the company. And we have Mr. Charles Herbert, who has taken a seat in the second row when he was supposed to be in the front row. Mr. Charles Herbert is the present chairman, and I almost missed you, sir, slipping into the back. But Mr. Charles Herbert is the present chairman of Goddard Enterprises Limited. And we also have Mrs. Natasha Small, who is the chief financial officer of the organization. And we have two special people that you'll meet a little later on. One is Miss Daphne Weeks, who is the oldest pensioner on the books at Goddard Enterprises Limited, and you'll hear a little bit about her later on. And we have Mr. Michael Thornhill, who is the longest, you notice I didn't say oldest, the longest serving staff member at the company at this present moment, and you'll hear about him a little later on as well. There are also a number of senior executives from the company that are with us this morning. And for your information, we have representatives today from The Nation newspaper, the Barbados Today online paper, we have CBC radio and television, we have Starcom Network, and we also have representatives from The Advocate. So welcome to each and every one of you. We're going to start off first by finding out why we are doing this today. Why are we here? Why are we burying a time capsule? What's the significance of it? And to give us that information, we'd like to invite Mr. Joseph Goddard, who is one of the past CEOs and a past chairman of the company, and he's going to give us a little bit of a rundown as to why we're doing this today. Mr. Joseph?
Good morning. Mr. Charles Herbert, chairman and other members of the board of Goddard Enterprises, friends, members of the press, good morning. It was just over 100 years ago, on October the 13th, 1921, that my grandfather, Joseph Nathaniel Goddard, and his son, Victor, commonly referred to as Uncle Vic by us, started this company that we now know as Goddard Enterprises Limited. I am sure that back then they could not have imagined what this company would now look like. A lot has happened in these past 100 years as we have grown by leaps and bounds, branching out to the Caribbean first, and then eventually to Central, North, and South America. Out of this little island, Barbados, the company now operates in 26 countries, and many of the staff members have had to become multilingual in order to effectively function alongside colleagues in these various countries. COVID has had a negative impact on many of the activities that were planned for this historic anniversary. And interestingly enough, some history books tell us that there was a pandemic sometime around when my grandfather started his store in Prince William Henry Street in Bridgetown. The pandemic of 1919 was not necessarily well documented, but we do know that it lasted a few years, so they were possibly just coming out of it when they started the enterprise in 1921. It would have been difficult times. But we don't have a lot of information on it or the trials and challenges that they would have experienced back when the company started. Yes, some things would have been passed by word of mouth, and we do have some photos, but there are not a lot. Historians then had to research and piece together information to give us a relatively true picture of what happened then. That is why it is so necessary to do what we are doing this morning. It may sound simple enough that we are burying a time capsule, but what we are really doing is preserving history and keeping records for those who come after us. We no longer have any original family members at the executive level of management in the company. But we keep an eye on what is happening with the organization as we remain shareholders, along with hundreds of others who have been able to see this company as a viable investment in their future and invested in it when we went public in 1979. So today is about keeping history alive. I trust that when they open this capsule in 2046, 25 years from now, they will understand and appreciate our efforts in helping to preserve the history of this company. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. And now a little bit about the history of the company, a little bit about the family, and about this location that has been chosen for the burial of this time capsule. And to do that, we have another past chairman, this time, and another grandson. This time it's Mr. Colin Goddard. Mr. Colin?
Mr. Charles Herbert. Where is Mr. Charles? All right. Chairman and other members of the board of Goddard Enterprises, friends, members of the press, good morning. I'm pleased to be part of this ceremony to encase this time capsule that will mark the end of the 100th anniversary celebration for this company, which my grandfather and Uncle Victor started in 1921. Unfortunately, we had to contend with the challenges of COVID-19. However, I realized that the company could not do many of the things that were planned, but we are still happy that a few of the events took place so that we could reach this stage of putting away some of the memories, so to speak, for future generations. The site for the placement of this time capsule is significant for my family and for Goddard Enterprises. It was at this location, just 5 years after starting Jane Goddard and Sons, that my grandfather got the opportunity to purchase this property, known as Kensington Estate, due to the generosity of a friend, Mr. Forrest Bancroft, who gave him first refusal by way of his will to purchase the estate. It was a 14-acre prime property just on the edge of Bridgetown that was earmarked for commercial development. In those days, the sea came up to just behind what we know as the Nation newspaper compound, and this property had access to the sea. However, in the late 1950s, the government decided to build a deepwater harbor, and the dredged coral was deposited on the seashore outward, and the reclaimed land was used to build the harbor's warehouses, offices, and other facilities. The Kensington property not only had a lovely residence, but buildings that could be used for other purposes. Some were used to stable the animals that pulled the carts that brought goods from the carenage to the ice house and deliver groceries to customers. Others were used as pens for cattle imported from Latin America, as well as local stock for slaughter. When vans and trucks became available, there was a building that could be used as a mechanical workshop for the repair and maintenance of the vehicles. I just mentioned the Ice House, which was the second location for Jane Goddard and Sons. They moved there in 1924, just 3 years to the day after starting the business in Prince William Henry Street. That building on Broad Street was purchased with a loan from Mr. Dudley Hawkins, owner of Edgeter Plantation, who wanted Granddaddy to purchase it. That became the home of Jane Goddard and Sons for the next 40 years, for the continuation and improvement of the grocery business until it was sold to the Bank of Nova Scotia in 1964. And Scotia Bank remains there to this day. The reason it was sold was simply because there was no parking on Broad Street, which was a major problem for customers who drove into Bridgetown to do their grocery shopping. In anticipation of this sale to the bank, Goddard's had built a modern supermarket at Kensington in 1962 on this very same compound on which we stand, with lots of parking. In fact, it was the first supermarket of its kind with such a large customer parking. The residence was known as Kensington House, and this is where Granddaddy and his wife Wilhelmina, Auntie Daphne, and her husband Uncle Pat, and their 3 children lived. It became a hub for all of us growing up. The Christmas parties for the grandchildren were particularly memorable occasions. Social gatherings for family and employees, and even the company's board meetings were held there. Eventually, it became a major hub for the businesses that you now know about: Hansel Innes, main office and warehouse, and the sales center just to our left, High Pack, and the Goddard shipping companies. Among other offices, the GEL training room was also here before the move to Haggard Hall. My grandfather started out poor when he took that trip to Bridgetown with his cow back in 1890. And it was through hard work and many sacrifices that he and his son, Uncle Vic, were able to build this business. It is built on a foundation of relationships with suppliers, customers, and the farmers he worked with. He also had a number of loyal friends who facilitated his dream of owning his own company. So you see, this location has not been chosen at random. It has deep meaning for us at Goddard Enterprises, and I'm happy to assist in the placement of the time capsule this morning as we share memories of our 100th anniversary with those who will open it in 2046. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collin. Well, now you know why it is being done, and you know why we've chosen this location. You want to know what is going to be in this time capsule. And this is where we will invite the present chairman, Mr. Charles Herbert, to tell us what is in this and the reason why some of those things were chosen to go into this time capsule. Mr. Herbert?
Messrs. Colin and Joseph Goddard, both past chairman of Goddard Enterprises, fellow members of the Goddard's board, Ms. Daphne Weeks, Goddard's oldest pensioner, Mr. Michael Thornhill, longest serving Goddard's employee, friends, members of the press. Good morning. First, I would like to acknowledge 2 special guests at this morning's ceremony. First one is Ms. Daphne Weeks, our oldest pensioner. She retired from Harrison's department store about 35 years ago, working there in the fabric department for over 20 years. She will be celebrating her 100th birthday on Sunday, February 27th. It really is a blessing to have you with us today, Daphne, and I thank you for coming. The other person is Mr. Michael Thornhill, who is presently the longest serving staff member at any Goddard company. He is now the General Manager of Marine Services in the Goddard Shipping Division, He has over 30 years' experience in shipping and presently heads the operations team. Now a master stevedore, he built and managed the tropical shipping brand for over 42 years. He has risen through the ranks over the past 45 years with the company, and we thought it only fit in to have him at this ceremony. Thank you to Michael for coming, and congratulations. Well, you've heard why we're burying the capsule and the reason the site was chosen, and now it's time to tell you what's in it. 2 packs of salt breads. Sorry, I'm off script. There are a number of items associated with the 100th anniversary, including pictures of our walk, which was entitled Retracing GEL's History, a trek from country to town. There are photos and memorabilia from the church service at St. John's Church, including the invitation booklet to show them how we celebrated and the items we used to commemorate, and other items that we used to celebrate and commemorate the anniversary. We have a copy of the actual service on a flash drive, but we have no idea if they will be able to use that in 25 years. Other anniversary items are included are the polo shirt, which I'll remove after, stickers, lapel pin, and the bookmark. We've also included all the articles that have appeared in various newspapers over the period of the celebrations. There's a copy of the letter to the staff and pensioners from the CEO, Anthony Alley, and myself, thanking them for their service and loyalty to Goddard's over all these years. We have been very fortunate to have committed and dedicated staff working with this organization over the last 100 years. We've also included a copy of our 75th anniversary book, written by Cecilia Karsh-Brathett, in which tells the story of this company and the family who started it, even before that day in 1921. In addition, the story is also told in our documentary, which is on our website, and in this capsule, again on a flash drive. That gives the background, but also prepares viewers for the immediate future of the organization, as seen through the eyes of the senior management team. There are a number of other items that tell the story of what has been happening in the world of Barbados around this time. There's a small container of volcanic ash, which tells its own story. And of course, we had to include evidence of this pandemic. There's an empty AstraZeneca vaccine canister, a syringe, and a disposable face mask, as well as the commemorative coin for the frontline workers. Like any time capsule, we have included the newspapers of the actual anniversary day, October the 13th, 2021, as well as the newspapers from Sunday, October the 17th, when we had an advertisement thanking all of our suppliers, customers, staff, and friends who have been part of helping this organization to this stage. We reached out to our subsidiary companies and asked them to send us items that they would have worked on around this anniversary time. So we have canisters to show the Beep hand sanitizer and disinfectant spray from McBride Caribbean Limited, and samples of labels, a lapel pin, and flash drive with the anniversary history of Caribbean Label Craft when they celebrated their 25th anniversary. Also included is the packaging and promotional material from Purity Bakeries as they introduce some new products around this time. You will be happy to know that you will be given samples of some of these new bread products made with cassava and sweet potato flours. One of our biggest projects for this centenary was the 100th Anniversary Entrepreneur Award competition. And I was truly heartened to attend the ceremony a couple of weeks ago and to hear these entrepreneurs speak with passion about their young companies when we awarded them on the first leg of the competition with their checks and awards. We have a copy of that ceremony also on flash drive and photos of those entrepreneurs to be included. In addition, we've included a laptop, an old BlackBerry mobile phone, which they will have fun with. I'm sure as technology is moving so fast that these items will probably look as ancient history to them. So we've tried to think of all the things which have happened around the time and include items to give a true picture of Barbados during our anniversary. So when they open this in 2046, they will have some inkling of what we've gone through this period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Herbert. Well, now you know what is in it. Just before we actually encase it, we're going to make a presentation to our oldest pensioner and the longest serving staff member. So I'd like to invite up Mr. Anthony Alley, who is going to come up to do that presentation. You're going to take over to Ms. Weeks a gift from the company as she celebrates her 100th birthday on Sunday, the 27th of February. She worked in the fabric department at Harrison's, and I understand she worked in gents materials. So the older gents would know her very well because they would have gone there to get all the fabric for their suits and their pants and so on at Harrison's department store. Ms. Weeks, we want to wish you a very happy birthday and heartiest congratulations to you. You're very welcome. And the next presentation goes to Mr. Thornhill, and I think Mr. Thornhill would want to come up for this one. The longest serving staff member at any Goddard company. Over 45 years with the organization. Mr. Thornhill, we won't say that you must have joined when you were still at school. And now we come to the moment that we've all been waiting for, the installation of the capsule. Now this morning, we will have the capsule placed inside the specially created box for it. We will place the cover on it, and then that cover will be sealed later on today with concrete so that it won't be easily accessible over time. So I'd like to invite Mr. Collin and Mr. Anthony Alley to bring the box over and place it inside the case. And then we will have the able-bodied men of Goddard Enterprises and Field Tech that will put the cover on. And for the members of the press, there is a full list of everything that is in that box so that you can see it in your press kit. So a full list of all the items that are now placed in the capsule will be available for you. And now, the gentleman with the muscles. And believe me, that is heavy. All right, so now we have it installed and encased, and it will be sealed later on today by the gentlemen here at Property, Corwin and Morris, taking care of all of that. And the members of the press taking their photographs to make sure that this is all recorded for posterity. And now that is it. A simple, straightforward ceremony, and it's mostly done what is left is to invite you to partake of some refreshments. Now, today we don't encourage you to take off your mask. Everything is packaged that you can take it away, and we thank the people at GCG Events for preparing the refreshments. And there is a package, there's a smoothie or a bottle of water, whichever is your preference, and you can take them all with you. There's also a sample of the same breads that Mr. Herbert spoke about. There is a loaf of cassava bread, a loaf of breadfruit bread, and a loaf of sweet potato bread that you can take away and sample. So everyone will get a package with the breads as well as a package for your refreshments. So I just want to say one more thing, a little bit of a thank you to the team that helped put this together, and Julie Reese, who is the executive assistant at Goddard Enterprises, who has been working tirelessly with this 100th anniversary. Julie, it's all done now, bar the shouting, and she can rest easy now because she has worked very, very hard with the entire anniversary as well as this event today. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please make sure that you collect your refreshments. And to Mr. Colin, Mr. Joe, and Mr. Philip, thank you all for being here and making this so special as grandsons of the founder of this great organization, Mr. J.N. Goddard. Thank you all. Good morning. Get there safely.